Hey, welcome everybody. Super excited to be here at Product Drive presented by User Pilot. My name is Ramli John. I'm going to be talking about Eureka, a simple framework to improve your product-led onboarding. Let me introduce myself very briefly. But once again, my name is Ramli John. I'm the author of this best-selling book called Product-Led Onboarding. It's really to help growth, product, customer success, any team that wants to improve their onboarding, turn more of their new users into lifelong customers. I've also worked with hundreds of different types of companies, such as Mixpanel, OutSystems, Snappa, to improve their user onboarding experience. Today, I'm going to be sharing with you three things. The first is why user onboarding is so critical to your company's growth and particularly to your product, why it drives product drive. Get it? Second, how to improve your user onboarding with a simple but powerful four-step process. And third, I'm going to be sharing this six-step framework to turn more of your users into lifelong customers. Let me start off with telling a story. Before, way back then, when I started doing a podcast called Growth Marketing Day, the way that I would book with hosts, with guests, is I would send them an email, ask them what time they're available, and then we would go back and forth to find a time that works for both of us. Finally, we find one. After it takes about 2 to 3 emails, and it just annoys me. Now you're probably wondering, well, Ramli, why are you using a tool for that? This is way back then before I knew any of those tools. And it's just super frustrating. And I thought it was not very professional. And one time a podcast guest asked me, Ramli, why are you not using this tool called Calendly? And I was like, what is Calendly? I started digging into it. I signed up for it. The experience was great. It asked me to connect my Google Calendar. And as soon as I connected my Google Calendar, they did something really smart. They asked you to send a test invite to myself first, to see what it looks like. And I got very comfortable with it because I don't want to send this tool to guests that are big shots, and it fails. So I started using it, and it started working like magic. And really, that's what it felt like. It felt like things just work. I don't have that frustration anymore, that feeling of frustration. At the same time, I feel I feel professional, and I don't have to go back and forth with my guests. Now, if this story sounds familiar, that's what great onboarding really is all about. It's really about giving that amazing experiences for you. And think about that. This must be similar for you, for some of you. Just think about that best user onboarding experience you've had in the past. What did it feel like? What was that first experience when you signed up? What did you do? And what were the things that were memorable? Really, I'm going to dig into that because those apps that produces great onboarding experience really does stick with you. It really does create that experience. And for a lot of times, I ask this question to a live audience, and what I really get is that the ones that provide great onboarding experience, it becomes it's something that they use over and over again. Even after years, it's been 4 or 5 years, I'm still using Calendly. It really, like, what my point with this story is that your company's growth really depends on first impression. Think about that first date, that first interview, the job interview. In real life, first impressions matter, and they stick with us. There's a stat that said within 5 seconds, we've created the first impression about somebody, and it lasts with us. It's the same thing with product. The first impression really does affect us and impacts us in a huge way in how we continue to have a relationship with product. At the end of the day, that's what it really is all about. Let me share with you exactly why it really depends. There's 3 things I want to share with you. First of all, there's this data from ProductLed. They did a study in 2019, and they looked at over 500 different types of products, and across the board from after 3 weeks, 6 weeks, and 9 weeks, the stickiness, the retention, or the period that a user stays with a product is a lot higher when the impression of the product is great. The impression of the user experience, the user onboarding is really great, totally across the board over time. Another stat here is from HubSpot. Like this is not, that study was not just was not just for B2B, B2C, but it also, I want to give a particular example of this. This is a study that Don Wolchok, they did this with HubSpot, HubSpot Psyche. They have a tool, and they found that improving the onboarding experience in the first week, getting people to stick around for the first week, just a lift of 15% in the first week resulted in a 25% boost in retention 10 weeks after. Really, like that small improvements in the beginning. Small, we might think it's just small things, but it really does create a snowball effect all the way to the lifelong relationship that a customer has with your product. And a final thing here that I want to share with you on how important onboarding is this quote from David Scott, general partner at Matrix Partners. He said this after reviewing thousands of different SaaS companies. He said, in working with a number of SaaS portfolio companies, there are two main causes of churn: failure to successfully onboard the customer and the loss of a champion who drove that purchase. Really, the point of all of this is that onboarding experience really sets up user to really love your product in a long-term relationship or leave your product for good. It is really the crux. If you nail this, you're setting yourself up for explosive growth later down the line. We know from different studies that retention is really the key to growth, to multiplying growth, and it starts in the onboarding. Unfortunately, for a lot of products, this is not the case. It's often I call the ugly duckling of growth, where you have the marketing focus on getting more users or sales, getting on outbound leads, and you got the product focus on the product roadmap, deploying new features. And really what happens is the stat here from Intercom that said that 40 to 60% of new users will sign up for an app and log in, or won't log in at all the second time around. So that's a huge, huge opportunity for a lot of product teams, growth teams, and a lot of SaaS companies or different types of apps out there. I'm probably wondering why. So what are some reasons why new users don't stick around? And I'm going to share with you this quote that I feel it really summarizes why new users don't stick around. It's from Scott Belsky, Chief Product Officer at Adobe, and he said that in the first 15 seconds, every new user, most new users, he was more direct. He said people are lazy, vain, and selfish. Think about the last time you signed up for an app, or some things that came into your mind. Was it, what is this app? What am I doing here? Why did my colleague invite me to this? Why should I care? At the end of the day, we're thinking about numero uno, which is ourselves. And really, that's what we need to focus on. And it really is a race against time to show value to the user. And if you're in the product space, you might be familiar with this concept called time to value. That's the time it takes for users to experience, to really realize, to see that moment where like, oh, I really get the value of this product. And for Calendly, that was testing that link out to myself for the first time and booking a meeting with myself before I even sent it out to my podcast guests. It was like, oh, this is easy now. I can see how valuable this product is, particularly for that. And the question now is, to improve your onboarding, how do you reduce your time to value? There's this thing that I want to share with you very briefly, the framework that Wes Bush and I have created at ProductLed called the Bowling Alley Framework. Really, in a bowling game, what you want to do is you want to knock down all 10 pins. In onboarding, this strike, when you knock down all 10 pins, is when users achieve their experience the value of your product for the first time. Now, what we want to do is create the quote unquote straight line onboarding. That's a minimum number of steps that new users have to take to learn the features that they need to learn to really experience that first value or get that first strike. And the way we do this is this 4-step framework, and I've provided this cheat sheet That's available at productled.com/straight-line-onboarding. Let me just go through this 4 steps for you. The first is really about identifying user success. I really do believe that this is one of the most critical misses for a lot of teams that are improving the onboarding. You want to be able to answer why are your users using your product or signing up for it, because this is like the destination in a road trip. If you don't know where you're going, then the chances of you getting to that somewhere is almost zero. It's exactly zero because you don't know where you're going. So why are your users signing up? And often they think about, well, it's because they want to use the product. But at the end of the day, there's this image that I love created by Samuel Ulick, who is a user onboarding expert and founder of useronboard.com, that our ultimate goal really is to help users level up. And there's this image from Mario where we're often so focused on the product. In this case, we're so focused on this flower. When Mario takes this flower, he becomes this fireball spinning plumber, this plumber, and he can do amazing things. And we need to focus on the outcome instead of the product itself. There's this other quote that I really love from Kathy Sierra, who wrote the book Badass, Making Users Awesome, is that we need to upgrade our users, not your product. Don't build better cameras, build better photographers. At the end of the day, sure, yeah, we're building better cameras or you're building better products, but all of that is just a means to an outcome, a means to an end. And that end is helping users become better at what they do particularly. And all of this comes to the statement that I really want to drive home, that onboarding isn't just an act of product adoption. Sure, you want users to adopt a product, but at the end of the day, it's about transforming the way they work, the way that they do what they do right now, whatever that is. For Calendly, it transformed the way that I book podcast guests. For other things, whatever that is, there is a transformation that needs to happen when you've successfully onboard or activated users to your product. All of this sounds very wishy-washy, like what I call frou-frou, and I want to make it more practical for you by sharing with you 3 ways that products upgrade a user. And all of this come together to really define what user success is. The first way is functional. This is a super simple for a lot of product growth business owners, entrepreneurs. This is the first thing that comes up to them. Functional. It's the desired outcome that our users want to do. And this is a famous quote from Theodore Levitt about this drill. Like, people don't want to buy a 1/4-inch drill. They want a 1/4-inch hole to hang a picture frame. They're trying to hang the picture frame even further. I can push this analogy further by saying, hey, maybe they want to remind themselves of that vacation that they had pre-COVID when they were in the Bahamas or somewhere warm, right? Or it remind them of their accomplishments with their certificates and things like that. And what you want to be thinking about here, for a lot of you already have this, is what is the desired outcome that your users are trying to do. For Calendly, it's to help podcast hosts like myself book meetings or schedule recordings with podcast guests. Sure, you can use Calendly sales for a salesperson. The functional upgrade is different, where they're trying to book meetings with prospects, but the functional upgrade is there. That's the first one. But as humans, we're not just functional beings. There's also an emotional part to us. And really, I really want to drive this point home, because whether you're in the B2B, B2C, we're dealing with a human in the other end. We're human to human at the end of the day. And human beings at the end of the day are also have emotions, and we want to play up those emotions. So the emotional upgrade is how we want our customers or users to feel or avoid feeling as a result of of using your product. An example with Disney is one of their emotional upgrade they have is, sure, they have theme parks like Disneyland, they have movies like Black Widow or Jungle Cruise, and they have comic books and things like that. But really, at the end of the day, what they want their customers to feel is happiness. That's the quote from Walt Disney here, is that we create happiness by providing the best in entertainment for people of all ages and everywhere. So think about that for your product. How do your customers want to feel or avoid feeling as a result of using your product? The very last upgrade is the social upgrade. We're not just functional beings, we're not just emotional beings, we're also very social beings. And it's how customers want to be perceived as a result of using your product, whether that's in the team setting with their bosses or colleagues, or in their family setting or friend settings. At the end of the day, once again, whether you're B2B or B2C, we're all human to human, and there's that social component. An example here that I have from an ad with Canva is that it really does play up the social upgrade here. It says no design experience, no problem. Canva makes it easy for anyone to create professional designs that are sure to get you noticed. You get the last part, sure to get you noticed. That's about hearing that praise from your boss saying, wow, Ramli, I didn't know that you're a math major. Like, how did you design this amazing logo or this amazing ad for the Facebook, or this amazing uh, business card that we're going to use now? This is great. Good job, and kudos on you. All that stuff is a social component to this particularly, and really you want to be playing that up. And all of that comes to that holistic view of what success is for users. What are that functional, emotional, and social ways your product level up users? Think about that for a second, and you really want to dig through this with your team and talk to a few customers, because once you get this, it does become, you're almost halfway there to improving your onboarding. Once you have what user success is, now you want to define what that first strike is, or the key product action, as I like to call it. Is that action within your product that signifies that users have achieved that success. And let me give you an example of this first strike. There's simple ones like Airbnb, like user success is actually going to somebody else's place and seeing, wow, this is not a hotel, this is somebody else's bedroom and I'm staying here. But the key product action or first strike is when people make that first booking within the Airbnb app. With Calendly, once again, it's doing the first booking within the app is a key product action. User success is further down a little bit, and it's actually closing that deal or having a great podcast recording with somebody amazing. Now, all of that is simple. Now, my question for you as you go through this is, what is that first strike for your product? What is that key product action? Think about that for a second. And once again, I know we're step 1 out of 4 right now, but I feel like that is the bulk. That is the 80-20. If you figure that first step out, you really are much further than a lot of folks, because then now you can really drive people towards that success for the users. So let me go through the rest now. Map out the user. Once you know where you're going, you want to create a map out towards that success state. And what you would do with your team, if you're reviewing your onboarding, is you want to map down every single step from the first touch point to the very moment that they achieve that key product action. And usually I would use sticky notes if you're in person. And you want to break down every single one. The example I'm going to bring up here is with Snappa. It's one of our clients. And Snappa, it helps you create online graphics from business, whether that's logos or ads or Instagram posts, anything that's visually related. They make it easy for you to create those images and really make it in a snap. Get it? So for this, the user success is actually creating something visual for the business or for whatever purpose they have, and downloading it. So we mapped it out here, a simplified version for all the way from the homepage to achieving the success. There was 10 steps. They have to get started for free, fill out the email, fill out the password, fill out the password again. They have to do it twice. They have to go to the inbox and confirm the email. Then click verify my email address, select a design template, add your own pictures, edit design, and then download the design. You want to be doing this for your app as well, and there might be more steps. One of our clients we worked with had 83 steps all the way from the beginning to the end. Every field, every button click has to be step or a post-it note. And if you're working remotely with your team, you can use Trello, or you can use Mural, or anything Miro, anything else that would be very helpful. You want to be mapping out your onboarding and really what is that minimum number of steps users need to take to achieve success in your product. Once you have that out, the next step is to vet every step. You want to go through a system that we call red, yellow, or green, where you want to ask yourself which steps can be limited, which steps can be delayed, and which ones are mission critical. And we use a red, yellow, green. Red is unnecessary, and you need to cut those out. Yellow are steps that you can delay after the first strike or after users have achieved their success within your product. And the last one is green, which is the mission critical steps. These are ones that you absolutely need to keep. And once again, you want to go through this with your team. And what you will go through is once you've gone through with your team with this, you want to make sure that they agree with this or they don't. Do you need to add any steps that will remove? Do users learn everything they need to know to achieve their first strike? So as a case study, this is what we did with Snappa. So we mapped out their onboarding, and we're like, okay, we believe our hypothesis here is that if we remove this email confirmation, it's a very sticky point. When we looked at in the data, over 25% of their users don't actually go get through this step. Maybe they forgot, maybe they got annoyed. And what we found after interviewing some of their users who left is that when people sign up for something like Snappa, where they're trying to create some kind of online graphics, they want it now. And any friction that gets in their way gets super annoying. Now I'm sharing this with you because there might be some certain situations or certain users or certain segments for your product where it is actually expected to verify the email. I'm thinking right now whether that's financial related or some kind of security related. But for Snappa, the customers, they just want it now. They just want to get their images. We remove this. And this is the kind of email that people would get. Confirm your email. Thank you for choosing Snappa. Confirm my account. How many of you have seen this before where you sign up, then they send you an email to verify? Maybe it gets sent somewhere else. Maybe it gets sent to spam. Maybe it takes you a few minutes to get it. And that few minutes, you kind of lose that steam and that excitement when you're signing up for something new. This is exactly what was using with Snappa. And we're like, let's remove this. Let's turn this to red because this we believe is unnecessary. Created a split test where we sent people to this new experience, and it started improving. We saw an instant lift. We have over 66% people experiencing their value, and that directly impacted their revenue. After we made this change in November, within 4 weeks, we found a 3 times increase in their MRR growth, particularly for that cohort of users that were more users were experiencing the value of their product. And as a result, more of those people are deciding to upgrade to a better experience with Snappa, where everything is better and streamlined, and get more options with that. Now, this sounds like a simple change. And the thing that really, like, through interviews and the data, we found that was the block, the thing that was blocking the growth of Snappa. So the question I have for you is, when you look at your onboarding, what's the bottleneck in your customer onboarding? It could be as simple as what we saw with Snappa, but it could be something a little bit more complicated. Once you've removed the bottleneck, you really can't, you really, and from our experience, see an exponential growth in terms of retention and other impact through that. That's one step to getting closer to improving and turning more of your users into lifelong customers. There's only one piece to this 6-step EUREKA framework that I've put together in the book ProductLed Onboarding. Everything from establishing an onboarding team, understanding users, and really like getting to know what is success to them, which we went through a little bit today. You refining your onboarding success milestones. What is that success metrics that you need to hit? Evaluating your new user journey, which we went through right now. Keeping your users engaged with product tours and in-app tactics, as well as onboarding emails, and analyzing the results and repeat. All of that is the EUREKA or 6-step framework to improve your onboarding that we've applied over and over again to different onboarding experiences. All of that, you can check it out in the product-led onboarding book that I put together. It is $10 on Amazon. Like, it's not that crazy expensive, and it's also, you can, if you want being product-led yourselves, you can check out the first chapter for free at onboardingbook.com to check that out. With that, I just want to thank you so much. I hope you got a ton of value. If you do have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. My email is ramli@productled.com. You can also find me on Twitter. I do write threads and tweets about onboarding and product growth strategies at Ramli John, as well as LinkedIn. That's all for today. Thank you so much. Happy to answer any questions. Have a good one, everyone.